Hey everyone, it's Sky from Arthritis to Athlete here, and if you've been around my channel for any length of time, you probably know that a couple years ago I was diagnosed with something called ankylosing spondylitis, which is a crippling form of spinal arthritis. And really long story short, I was actually able to reverse most of the condition and inflammation through a whole foods plant-based diet and other healthy lifestyle choices. And through this long healing journey, I found myself coming across a lot of information about gut health and the microbiome. And it just so turns out that a lot, and I mean a lot, of people out there will tend to twist the truth about what constitutes a healthy gut so that you'll either buy their product or whatever they're selling. And through my healing journey, I researched countless hours, tried countless number of things, debunked a lot of myths, and found out what truly constitutes a healthy gut. But in this video, I really wanted to focus on some of the biggest myths that I see out there about healing your gut. That way you don't have to fall into the same pitfalls that I did. Alright, let's jump right into it. Roll the intro. Alright, so the first myth we're going to tackle is about how bone broth is some magical elixir that will heal your gut, joints, skin, and really whatever else. Hey you! What, me? Yeah, you. Have you ever had the insatiable desire to drink the liquefied marinade of a dead animal's skeletal system? Not really? No. Remember, you're supposed to go with it, man.
Yeah, Bill, that's not in the script.
Okay, sorry, let's try it again. Now, if you've seen anything about bone broth on the internet, you've probably seen people making absolutely wild claims about it. But let's step back for a second and take an objective look on this. Now, the first thing you have to understand is we literally have no studies on bone broth and its effects, so making any claim on it is pretty shaky. But hey, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Just because there isn't research out there showing its efficacy doesn't mean that the claims are automatically false. So let's take a deeper look. The big claim about bone broth that always captivated me is that the collagen found in the broth would actually turn over in your body and build collagen in your joints. And since I had some pretty nasty joint inflammation, I bought into this immediately. And it turns out after a month of eating bone broth soup every day, I had noticed really no difference in the way I felt. If anything, I was actually getting worse. And knowing what I know now, I look back on this and think, man, if I actually had any knowledge of how the physiology of the human body worked, I never would have bought into this crap. Here's what I mean. Collagen is a protein, and whenever that protein enters your stomach, it's broken down and denatured by your stomach acid. So the collagen protein becomes ineffective before you can even get it to your intestines where it would be absorbed. But let's just say by some impossible chance that it does make it past your stomach acid. Well, it still couldn't be absorbed by your gut. Here's why. From this online textbook of pathophysiology from Colorado State University, I quote, "There is virtually no absorption of peptides longer than 4 amino acids long." And get this, the 3 amino acid chains that actually make up the collagen protein are all over 1,400 amino acids long. Yeah, there's no way that's getting absorbed. And this whole idea of eating collagen to build collagen is such a primitive idea. That's like saying, drink blood to make more blood cells. Like, what? Oh, well, one of these days I'll beat you in a foot race, man. Yeah, man. Too bad you don't have, more blood cells to, give you more oxygen or something, right? Yeah, that would be kinda— Oh my gosh! What are you doing? Haven't you always wondered why you can't beat me? The secret is the blood of my enemies. And the real nail in the coffin here is the high amounts of lead exposure you'd probably be getting in bone broth. In this study that used organic chicken, they found that the lead levels in the broth were 10 times higher than that of the water used to make the broth. And I think it goes without saying that minimizing your lead exposure is always a good thing. Alright, next myth we have up here is how a low starch / low carb diet is actually amazing for gut health and ankylosing spondylitis in particular. When I was in the process of healing my AS, I was actually doing a lot of low carb dieting. And guess what? It actually helped. I really did feel quite a bit better. But after learning how to truly heal my gut and adopting a whole foods plant-based diet, there is no comparison. I feel way better now eating all the whole starches I want. Now, before I actually talk about why I may have felt better on a low-carb kind of protocol, we have to understand a little bit about my condition. So strap in here. This is going to get a little sciencey, but I promise I'll try to keep it simple. So ankylosing spondylitis is a type of autoimmune condition, and like most autoimmune conditions, it can be caused and or made worse by a condition called leaky gut or intestinal permeability, as it's scientifically known as. This is where you have partially undigested food proteins and bacteria leaking into the bloodstream through the gut wall, hence the name leaky gut. Now your body can see these things as foreign invaders and fire an immune response to make antibodies to attack them. And what can happen is those certain antibodies made to those bacteria or proteins can look a lot like our own body's tissues, and after repeated injury and damage, those antibodies might come across our own tissues and start attacking us. This is the suspected cause of many autoimmune diseases. So here's where this whole low starch thing comes into play. One of the bacterial species suspected to play a role in the causation or irritation of AS is a species called Klebsiella pneumoniae. And most of our gut bacteria feed primarily off of starches and fiber found in whole plant foods. So, there was a study done where they placed AS patients on a low starch diet and found that they actually had decreased levels of inflammation and serum IgA. And it kind of makes sense. If you're starving these bacterial populations that are probably making things worse, you're likely going to see a benefit. But what if we could do this without starving our very important gut bacteria and instead just prevent them from getting into the bloodstream in the first place by healing the leaky gut? This is exactly what needs to be done. Heal the gut. Going on a low starch diet for autoimmune conditions is comparable to cutting out carbohydrates for diabetes. Sure, you could put a band-aid on the diabetic situation by adopting a low-carb diet, but that comes with the nasty side effects of, increasing your risk for heart disease, increasing your risk for all-cause mortality, among others, and you're also not even getting to the root of the problem. Hey man, did you get your oil changed?
No man, I don't need to.
Oh, well, why not?
I just disconnected the light that kept telling me to get an oil change. Big brain play, right, man?
You're kidding me, right? A whole foods plant-based diet has been proven to improve insulin sensitivity and even reverse diabetes. It's the same kind of thing doing a low starch approach for some autoimmune conditions. Yeah, we could cut out starch, starving the gut bacteria, and risk making things worse in the long term, or we could get to the root of the problem and actually heal the gut lining. That way you can consume these healthy whole starches without a problem. A diet rich in whole starches, fiber, and other whole plant foods fosters the growth of an incredibly healthy gut ecosystem. And if you have trouble with these foods, it's just likely that you have an underlying gut problem that hasn't been addressed first. And if you're curious for more stories about people healing their gut and reversing their autoimmunity, including arthritis and ankylosing spondylitis, then I highly recommend that you check out the Pattison Program podcast. They have a ton of people on their podcast who are routinely healing their gut and arthritic problems. And fun fact, I was actually one of them. I'll link the Pattison Program podcast episode I was in the description below. Also, just a side note, I highly recommend the Pattison Program for any type of arthritic condition. Also, if you're interested in more information about gut health, then check out Dr. Angie Sadeghi. She's an expert gastroenterologist and has a wealth of information on gut health. There's a couple other reasons people may feel better on low-carb diets initially. For example, consuming overall less calories. That's going to give you some fasting mimicking benefits. Another one would be elimination of all sugary and highly processed foods, and possibly other highly inflammatory foods like dairy products. But just because you're covering up your gut problem doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually fixing it at its root. Here's a great analogy that I've heard. Whenever dealing with our health, we should not be constantly mopping up a wet floor. We should be the ones to just turn off the faucet. And a low-carb / low-starch diet hasn't been shown to turn off that faucet. At the end of the day, it just doesn't come as a surprise that the same diet that is proven to reverse heart disease, reverse diabetes, and reverse certain types of cancers is the diet that's also best for gut health. Alright, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you got any value out of this video, please consider adding value back to my channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing, as well as hitting that bell icon next to it. That really helps my channel out. Alright, and with that, I'll see you guys soon, and God bless.